Hi, I'm Shonda Ramsey, your host and fellow indie author. Are you overwhelmed at the thought of publishing your book by yourself? Has fear kept you frozen in place, unable to write even the first word of your book? Not knowing the steps you need to take shouldn't stop you from writing. That's why I've asked for help from some amazing industry professionals, published authors, and others who are in the same situation as you to share their knowledge on the self-publishing process. Welcome to Dear Indie Author, where we inspire creative independence in every writer. Hey everyone, it's Shonda. I am here with my friend Josh. Hi Josh, how are you doing today?
Hello.
I would like to get started with some rapid fire icebreaker questions. Are you ready for those?
I am ready.
All right. What is your favorite writing snack?
Writing snack. I've got trail mix. So
Trail
just
mix.
a mix of like nuts with some raisins and some M&Ms in there.
Perfect. Do you like fall or winter better?
Fall.
Fall, yeah. Are you a comedy or drama person?
Love both. If I have a choice, I would do comedy. I like to laugh. My job is very, very serious. So I,
Yeah,
I need some comedy.
comedy. Love that. What is your favorite writing spot?
For me, well, I was on the road. So I travel a lot for work and I found those environments just where it's kind of quiet, completely by myself with the minimal distractions was the best.
Awesome. I like that. What is the best writing advice you've ever received?
Best writing advice was just make it happen. So just find the time, plug away at it. If you believe enough in your ideal and in your book, you just have to finish it. Just do it. So many people contemplate, gosh, it's going to take so much time. Should I do it? Shouldn't I? Just do it.
I like that. Are you someone who prefers to write it out or type it up?
Type. My handwriting, I'm a doctor, is very bad. So I have to type. I legitimately can't read some of my own handwriting sometimes. So definitely have to type it.
That's awesome. So that stigma holds true then. The doctor's
Yes.
handwriting is the
Yes.
worst.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Do you like to write in silence or with music?
You know, I write in silence. I just my mind works a little bit better. I prefer to do things with music just because it
Mhm.
makes the time pass a little faster, but I was definitely more productive when it's silent. It's just the way my
Mhm.
mind works. I get distracted.
Yeah, no, I like that. Do you like iPhone or Android better?
iPhone.
Yeah, that's like the $1 million question, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yep, I'm the iPhone guy.
Yep. What is the biggest adventure you've ever been on?
For me, I've had a lot of wild adventures in the
Hmm.
military. The the combat tour in Iraq was just a life-changing um, event for me, just for many reasons. Just being dropped into a combat zone and shooting down helicopters all around you. I was there when they shot down one of our helicopters the first day I got there.
Mm.
So some life-changing events. That's definitely the biggest.
Wow. What is the favorite place that you've ever visited?
New Zealand.
Mm.
I moved down there in 2000. The first time we were there was 2008. Yeah, 2008. So I got married in New Zealand. My first son Luca was born in New Zealand. We love the country.
Wow. Who was your favorite mentor?
Favorite mentor of just someone that I've looked up to and really kind of helped me establish like how I was going to lead and be a leader. If anyone has read the books or watched the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers,
Hmm.
so Richard Winters, the commander, it was the first or the second commander of Easy Company from the 101st Airborne.
Yeah.
Just tremendous leadership skills, and the more you read about him, just an amazing, like a real hero.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually seen that.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, it is. What is one word to describe your book?
Hopefully inspirational.
Mm, I like that. That's great. Well, welcome. I am so glad that you're here with me, and I would love if you could just start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Dr. Josh McConkey, I carry a lot of titles. I'm like the MacGyver doctor. So, I'm a colonel and a commander in the U.S. Air Force, now award-winning best-selling author. I played soccer for a while. I was goalkeeper at Rotorua United when I was down there. But, my time in Iraq is just I'm so thankful to be alive, like
Mhm.
literally be alive, that I try to take advantage of as many opportunities as I can. And that really kind of is what I'm all about.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear?
Yeah, so be the weight behind the spirit. It's my leadership ethos. And, as a military commander, I'm in charge of 100 men and women, some of the best warfighting medics in the United States Air Force. And that the book is really a culmination of that ethos. So I want people, it's a call to action. So I want them to engage their communities. I want them to understand that one, like the best resource we have in America is people by far and
Mhm.
away. Coaches, teachers, volunteers, mentors, like families. That's what makes America awesome. I've got to work with real heroes, like men and women in combat, some special operations, like real heroes. And each one of these people has a coach or a teacher or a family member that gave them the amazing confidence to do what they do. And that's what makes, America special. So this book is just teaching people that what they do really matters and then how they can contribute to be the weight behind the spear in America.
I love that. I think that that is incredible, actually. What inspired you to write it?
So over the past few years, just about the year or two before writing the book, there was a lot of changes in America. The whole COVID debacle that we
Mhm.
all went through. And it's just one of the strangest moment in my life. I'm 47 years old, like as an American, but the repercussions of some of the decisions made, not to get like political at all, but, shutting out an entire generation of Americans that are right in those critical years of development. Like, so these kids, there was 2 or 3 years where they were shut out of schools, shut out of churches. They already had some difficulty communicating because they, like that whole iPhone generation, they've never known the world without iPads and iPhones.
Mhm.
So then you shut them out of all that. I see the results of that. So I'm an emergency doctor. I see the increased rates of anxiety and depression and suicide. And
Yeah.
every time I sit down with a family and have to tell them that one of their loved ones, like their son, their daughter, have died, it is hard. And I've been doing this job for 20 some years. It just gets worse. And so
Mm.
there's a huge mental health crisis that I felt needed to be addressed. And on the same line there, as an emergency, as a commander in the military, I see the same group of individuals, like these kids, 18 to 25 years old. Man, it's a similar issue for our military. The lack in some basic leadership and communication skills and lack of resiliency. Like they
Yeah.
don't overcome the most simplest things and they quit so easy. I was really concerned. And so I've diagnosed the problem and my prescription was writing this book. It was just as much therapeutic for me as
Yeah.
it has, I'm hoping, be that inspirational book for other people. It's been very well received. So I feel super blessed. It's won a bunch of awards. And yeah, for a first time author, it's better than I could have hoped for.
That's amazing. I want to ask you about the title because to me, your title is very intriguing. So, what does Be the Weight Behind the Spear mean in the context of leadership and business?
So, to when I describe that, you have the tip of the spear. So the introduction in the book really kind of walks you through what's the tip of the spear. So
Mhm.
these, I've worked with special operations. Some of the, men that I've got to work with on those special operation teams, one of them was literally on the team that rescued those kids in Thailand in 2018. They were
Mhm.
stuck in the caves.
Yeah.
And, some of those types of individuals are the ones that jumping out of helicopters and taking down like a guy like bin Laden, right? That's
Right.
that's the that's the real tip of the spear. These guys are amazing heroes, freak athletes, just amazing individuals. Well, I can't do that. Right? Like I cannot, I don't take lives. I save lives. I'm a doctor.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
how can I contribute and what can we have others contribute? Because we can't all do those things. Well, you can be the weight behind that tip of the spear.
Mm.
So, coaches, teachers, volunteers, families. And as I wrote the book and I just reflected on myself and the people that have been the weight behind my spear, man, I had such great stories from my teachers and my wrestling coaches growing up that after writing the book, I've sought these people out. I found them on social media, on Facebook. I was inducted to the Hall of Fame in my hometown a couple of years
Wow.
ago and got to see some of those teachers. And gosh, it's so important. You don't realize that those little things that you do, and you know, when you're that weight behind the spear for other people, it's just so powerful. Like people need to know that what they do every day matters.
Yes, I agree. That's amazing. Your background is incredibly diverse
Hmm.
and it spans from emergency medicine, military service, and now authorship. So, how have these experiences shaped your perspective on leadership and mentorship?
So I've been very fortunate to learn from some great leaders. I joke a little bit, but I'm very fortunate to have learned what not to do from some very bad leaders.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to define leadership, but everybody knows a bad leader, right?
Yes.
So just don't be that. And so I've learned from some fantastic leaders. Coach K, the Duke basketball coach, gave a
Right.
very good leadership lecture when I was a professor at Duke University in our emergency medicine residency program. Just an incredible book. So his leadership book is very good. And learning not to micromanage,
Mm.
just very simple things. And don't ask people to do what you're not willing to do yourself. So that was, Major Winters, retiring Lieutenant Colonel Winters, from Easy Company and Band of Brothers. Just those leadership points, man, just amazing individuals. So I feel very fortunate to be able to learn from those types of people, even just reading history.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then there's just don't do the stuff the bad ones do.
Yeah. I like that. Can you share a pivotal moment from your career or personal life that significantly influenced your approach to leadership?
When I was straight out of residency, so young, very green, like a rookie attending, and you come out of residency where you're just a little bit sheltered. So the early 2000s is where you start to see this crazy shift in our healthcare system with the opioid epidemic. So
Mm.
this is the oxycodone, OxyContin, them pushing all of these, high potency, dangerous narcotics for very simple things. And they actually had, the pharmaceutical companies that lied to everybody. Oh, these aren't addictive. We don't, they knew the entire time. I was attending for about 6 months, and I worked in Omaha, Nebraska for a few months. They punted me over to a facility in Council Bluffs, Iowa, that had just a horrific drug problem, huge addiction problem, and the the worst example of just failure in leadership that I saw that really kind of shaped, on the healthcare and medicine side of things. I had a medical director sit me down and ask me to write more narcotic prescriptions.
Mm.
So basically, when you have a facility that's so used to just handing it out like candy, they were bribing people to get
Yeah.
patient satisfaction scores, like literally. So he wasn't getting a regional director bonus because I don't give those things for people that don't need them because they have high abuse potential. And I saw so many overdoses. He sat me down and he was all patronizing, like, hey, they're only hurting themselves. So, I need you to write more narcotic prescriptions. I was flabbergasted. I was like scared. Like what do I do? Like, knowing what I know now, I would have reported him immediately to the DEA.
Yeah.
But, back then you're just young. You don't know, like, he's going to fire me if I say something. So I just refused to work there again and
Yeah.
kept working in Omaha. But that to have a director of an entire group of individuals, like literally sit down a young, impressionable attending and just ask him to write more dangerous drugs was disgusting. And
Yeah.
literally a day or two after he had asked me that, I watched a 30-year-old woman who had overdosed on the drugs that he prescribed coming into the emergency department. I had to intubate her. She went to the ICU. She almost died. She stopped breathing.
Wow.
And her 8-year-old daughter was in the room and she walked up and she's grabbing my white coat, like, is my mommy going to be okay? And I couldn't take it. I like, oh, only hurting herself, huh? Well, what about
Yeah.
this 8-year-old daughter right here? She was there with grandma. I've seen those things and it's just such horrific leadership, just a terrible human being.
Mm.
Ugh. Yeah. So that really changes how you have an outlook on things.
Yeah, it does. Definitely. As a first-time author, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in writing and publishing your book?
Just getting published, I had absolutely no idea. I've
Mhm.
practiced for 20 years as a physician. I had 20 years of military service at that point, literally looking things up on Google. how
Yeah.
do I do this? What's a query letter?
Mm.
How do you do a pitch? And just submitting and failing many, many, many times, trying to
Mm.
hit these big publishers first, which just is not realistic. I know that now, but
Yeah.
put so much time into, putting query letters and things to people that I really probably had no business. I really felt good about the book, but until you get that to a publishing company and they get some real professional like editing and
Mhm.
those types of things, I was very fortunate finding someone local here in North Carolina to help me out with that. But well, I probably spun my wheels for months and months. I mean, well over 6 months trying to find somebody to publish.
Wow. How did you balance your demanding career and personal life while working on your book?
It was very difficult, but I think finding that venue for me to be productive in writing, just doing it on the road. So
Yeah.
I had a job where I traveled out to Nebraska for work, and that's where I did all my writing. So I tried to be as productive as possible, kind of isolated myself off, walled myself off in a little apartment for weeks at a time when I'm and just take advantage of that solitude. Because when I'm
Mhm.
home, things are crazy busy. I've got military duties pulling me one way. I've got 3 kids, going to events and making sure they're making their lunches,
Yeah.
brush your teeth, just hunting down 3 kids and just getting things done everyday life. My wife is amazing, Elsa. So she, we're a good team.
Mhm.
It's very difficult being a single parent for sure. But the two of us have managed to get that done. And while I'm on the road, that's about the only time I could write.
Yeah. When you were on the road writing, did you come up with like a routine or any like specific way that you like to write, like a style or an organizational thing that you did to keep on
Yeah,
track?
just doing an outline, starting
Mhm.
with that, because I kind of had the general premise and the ideas. So for me, trying to write a book on leadership and motivating people, I kind of just broke it up into those 4 sections. I did the outline and then tried to come up with some stories or like leadership traits for each chapter. So, the first section of the book is how to be the weight behind the spear. It's put some good examples on good leadership. The second section is how to not be the weight behind the
Mhm.
spear, bad leadership. Please
Yeah.
don't do these things with some examples. And then the third was just, examples that shaped kind of who I am as a person and my weight through the military and through healthcare experiences. And then the very last section was my weight and just got
Mm.
to tell some stories on family and how that had that just tremendous impact on me being who I am as a human being and as a leader. So the
Yeah.
outline format and then just coming up with sections and it took shape after that.
Putting it together. I like that. Did you draw on any specific experiences from your military or medical career when writing the book?
Yeah. So all of the first chapter really starts with, just the leadership me being dropped into Iraq
Mm.
and just what a jolt and what a shock to that system was. It really changed my entire thought process. So before I was actually married previously and, working as a physician and just life seemed to be all about, how big your house is going to be and what kind of stuff you could buy. And, that's on me. I made a poor decision. All right.
Yeah.
With the first relationship. So, in Iraq, I found out very quickly that, none of that matters. So
Yeah.
nobody cares how big your house is. Nobody cares what kind of car you drive. They don't. And nobody cares
Mhm.
how much money you make. You're going to die here. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Like
Yeah.
nobody cares. They're shooting down helicopters. I was there for the surge. So they shot down 8 helicopters in a 2 week span. They killed the flight surgeon, Colonel Allgood, a couple weeks before I got there. I show up in theater. I'm literally in Iraq for like less than 24 hours, and they shoot down one of our helicopters. I'm
Mm.
like, oh, this was a bad this I immediately regret this decision. The Ron Burgundy, like, oh, what
Yeah.
have I done? Like, I'm totally gonna die here. And I
Yeah.
called my cousin Zach, and he just had some great words of wisdom. He's a special operator, right? It was a combat controller and then 18 Delta, like Green Beret. He's like, listen, like you're in it now, and you might die. I
Mm.
mean, do you want to you kind of just cry about it and kind of cry yourself to sleep at night, or do you want to just pony up? It's going to be the craziest adrenaline rush of your life. If you die, man, you're getting shot down in a medevac helicopter. save, like flying into the face of death to save lives. Like, dude, there's
Yeah.
no better honor. Like, you got to die of something. I mean, you die 50 years from some crazy cancer, you get hit by some drunk a-hole, you might as well die in a medevac helicopter. I'm like, all right. So once you don't care about dying anymore, I mean, you can kind of move on with
Do
life,
it.
but that's a huge life change. I mean, it's really changes who you are.
Wow. That's incredible. What advice would you give to aspiring authors who are hesitant to take the plunge into writing and self-publishing?
They need to know that there are much, much worse authors out there. All right.
Mm.
You, if you put your mind to it, I mean, it's not like, oh, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. Yes. But there are a lot of other people that are way worse writers than you that are
Yeah.
out there writing books. So what you have to say matters and you can have a significant impact. Like just get out there and do it and see what happens. You cannot fear failure.
Mm.
So failure is a fantastic motivator. It's fantastic. This is what I tell my residents all the time. Like that fear of failure will keep you reading at night. It will keep you learning more. That don't fail. Like just get out there and do it. And you're going to make sure that it's the best book it can be. And then surround yourself with good people. Like find good people.
Yeah.
Be a good evaluator of talent. Find a good editor. Find other authors and other independent authors. Bounce ideas off them. Just get out there and do it. There's way worse books out there. I promise you.
Yeah. There is. That's great advice. Can you talk about some of the lessons you learned from the independent publishing route?
Oof. Just the whole process of seeking out publishers and getting published, getting it accepted. I went with one of the hybrid publishing routes,
Hmm.
with independent publishing. The boy, there's so many scammers out there
Hmm.
that, you get out and you talk to a couple of people or you get onto some list serves. I'm not sure how they even find out getting your name, but you just get one of them and then you just get pummeled with all of these scams. Like, oh, we're going to help you get published. And they play on egos and they tell you the book is the best thing that they've ever read, but it's we're gonna need 2,000 here, or we're gonna need,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, man. Once they start asking you for money, I mean, they really prey on some first time like independent authors, people that just don't know the system and how things are supposed to work. And man, there were just so many of them. I guess the number one tip that I have is, and I learned this after several mistakes, but if there is going to be any kind of upfront money, make sure you put it on a credit card. And the
Mm.
reason is you can do a chargeback on that card. People don't know about that.
Yeah.
So when you sign up for a service and they promise they're going to do this, this, and that, use your credit card. There's basically it's like insurance. So when they ignore you and you haven't heard from them for 6 months and they promise you the audiobook that never gets done,
Yeah.
guess what? You
You can
know,
charge back.
call up
Yep.
that credit card, get that charge back, and then you have their attention immediately. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. So you have our attention now because they just string you along. So do it on a credit card, call your company and do a charge back.
I like that. Yep. That's definitely an important thing to do. I think that, as myself being an indie author too, running into scammers is pretty much par for the course, I feel like.
Hmm.
And people will always promise you the world and underdeliver or never deliver. And so then, yeah, you always have to kind of pivot and do things again. So I always try to recommend that you interview the people that you are going to potentially be working with as well. Make sure you
Hmm.
ask them key questions to try to get to the root of what it is that they're actually offering you to make sure that they are legit. And do your research. There's always great places to find. I know there's a website too, Writer Beware. They do a
Hmm.
lot
Yes, and,
of,
and I did find that,
yeah,
and just like the book with the story of the audiobook. So the initial publisher, the hybrid, had they strung me along. They charged me, I think, $7,000 to
yeah,
do an audiobook. And after 3 months, not much. After 6 months, almost a year, like what is going on? Like it can't possibly. They just excuse, and then just kind of radio silence. They kind of ignore you. So I ended up going to a book camp, like Ted and Gabby Olzak.
hmm,
I put a shout out for those guys. So I went to a book camp, and just figured out how easy it is to do an audiobook. Just sign up on ACX, audition some people and just pick somebody and they do the audiobook and you
Yeah.
find an audio engineer. I mean, they walk you through the steps. It was super easy. I did my chargeback, got the $7,000 back. And then I think it was like less than $2,000 to have the audiobook completely done within a month on
Wow.
ACX. And they had
Yeah.
strung me along for almost a year. I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have known this. You have
Yeah.
no idea. You have no idea.
No. Yeah.
Gosh.
Sometimes you just don't. Well, thanks for sharing that
Yeah.
that'll help other people. I know actually audiobooks is one thing that people ask me about all the time.
Mhm.
And so I think that it's great to know that there are actual places that you can go and do that, especially if you're not able to do it yourself too. I think that that's an important thing is
Yeah.
finding someone who can.
Yeah, I did the intro and knowing now, like I've started to do some voiceover work as well. I should have just done the whole thing myself. I
Yeah.
just had no idea it was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the biggest lesson that you learned in self-publishing?
Yeah, just how to avoid the scammers and just pick up on that. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many phone calls and emails. Wow. I had no idea there was a world of people out there just taking advantage of people. My
Hmm.
goodness.
Definitely. And they hide in places that you wouldn't think they would be hidden too, for
Yep.
sure. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about sharing with us?
Yes. So the book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear, I'm trying to put that into action. So I've started a nonprofit organization, the Weight Behind the Spear Foundation. So it's nonprofit. We got our IRS 501c3 recognition, and we're really trying to get out there and promote community engagement and volunteerism. And right now we're raising money for Western North Carolina. So Hurricane Helene, right there at the end of September,
Hmm.
just destroyed entire communities in Western North Carolina. I live outside of Raleigh here in North
Hmm.
Carolina, and it's just devastating. I was out there a couple of weeks ago, and the places that we had like eaten at and stayed at and visited many times in the past, like if you would have built more village,
Yeah.
just completely destroyed. I mean, you can watch the videos and see pictures, online. Very, very heart wrenching. So, just wonderful, arty people out there, and they need help. So this is a long term project. So
Yeah.
this is going to be years and decades to rebuild, and some of it can't be rebuilt at all. So, just I've started a nonprofit organization.
I love that. That's amazing. It's really neat how you're tying that into your book too. I think that that's great. Can you
Thanks.
share where people can find you?
So weightbehindthespear.com. So WEIGHT is in like a physical weight, weightbehindthespear.com. I have socials as well, Instagram, X and Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Instagram is I've probably got, I think, 27,000 followers on there. That's probably the one that's most active. That's Josh McConkey, MD.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience or any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, just that what you do every single day matters. Uh, what you are putting down. There's novelists, there's fiction, nonfiction. You know, the outlets. Like for me, I read the Harry Potter series for the first time in Iraq, and I mean, it probably saved me because I would have lost my mind. I needed that release. So
Hmm.
those are critically important. Just those stories that you can absorb into. That's just I love reading books. And on the nonfiction side of things, whether it's writing about historical writing or memoirs or inspirational, motivational, you're writing for people to learn something and it makes a difference and you pay that forward. So, just get out there. What you do every day matters.
Love that. I'd love for you to share the letter that you wrote for our audience.
Yes. So, and I wrote down some of that. The actual letter is very short, but just, you know, not being afraid to get out there and just jump right in. It's like sink or swim. So when you're writing a book, you always get concerned about like the failure and it's sink or swim. I promise you, you will swim. All right. There are way worse authors out there. You are a great author. Just do it because you're going to sink or swim. You have a fight or flight response inside you. You will swim. I promise you. Just get out there and do it.
Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Shonda Ramsey. For the show notes and links, head over to shondaramsey.com. And don't forget to join in on the conversation on socials. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show and write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, always remember, every writer deserves to see their words in print.